blurry, right? Oh my, that is fantastic. Just like that, fantastic. Corner, right? We're on an angle like this, top corner. And we'll start over here very softly. And you want some of that white to blend in with the blue, and you want to leave some of it that's nice and open. Gotta have a little bit of our blue in there. Right, so maybe back inside there, down along the edge of this ridge. Gonna be old roommates. Just popping them up. Popping them upwards is all we really need to do. We need to go so lightly over these guys, like we're barely even touching it, right? Soft, very soft. Oh my, like a, seriously like a whisper, because this stuff is so thick that it will grow like crazy on us. And we don't want that to happen, but everywhere that we had wanted to slide off a certain way, we have to just so lightly pull it down, following those angles, making it soft, making it a little bit blurry, right? Oh my, that is fantastic. Just like that, fantastic. All right, you can start from the bottom. Just to add the shadow. Gotta have shadows. Hi guys, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did a 16 by 20 inch canvas, Bob's version of Royal Majesty. Kind of had to shrink it down a little bit. He did it on a much larger size canvas, but it came out fantastic. You're obviously excited about painting this one, so check the description down below. Find all the colors you need. Make sure you get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on it. We're gonna do it just like this. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so we have our Bob Ross liquid white oil paint and a 2-inch brush. We've taken the canvas here, covered the top of it in the white gesso, let that thing dry, and then came in with our black gesso, covered the entire rest of the bottom and let that sucker dry. So I'm gonna show you how to put on the Bob Ross liquid white. I usually shake up the jar, and whatever lands in the top of the lid is just about enough. All you're really gonna need, look, I didn't even get it all over the bristles of the brush, right? Because it's not a whole white canvas that we have to cover here. So I'm gonna drop it in, make sure it falls off of my brush, right? Maybe pick it up, drop it over here. Just spread it out as far as we can get it to spread, and don't really cover over these guys too much. See, if you start coming down, start looking like little snow-covered trees back there, right? And we're gonna be blending it out and adding color to it, so we don't wanna cover up too many of those little guys, right? Like, see if you drag some of that light in there, it's like shining through into our scene. Just a littlest bit though. Again, we're gonna be coming over it with the other paint, so we don't wanna cover it too much. Maybe another little dab. Let's drop some paint in over here, and there we go, just about enough. We're gonna spread that all the way, kind of picking it, pulling it down, because you don't need a whole lot. You can see here, there's not a whole lot covering this black. That's because we don't use up a whole lot when we're doing our scenes, right? Fantastic, beautiful little thing happening there. And just from doing the liquid white, I bet you we could do a whole little scene and create it off of this black canvas. But that's not what we're going for today. We're here to paint Bob Ross's Royal Majesty, a gorgeous little scene that he did. And he calls it a challenging scene, so I'm gonna show you how to do it easily, right? And the first step, of course, is getting your Bob Ross liquid white. Well, first step is getting your canvas prepped, right? I do have a video about how we prep the canvases with our black gesso, so you can make any sort of shape that you wanna make, and it'll turn out very, very cool. Look at that, very neat. And just keep going, it'll turn into a winter scene, right? All right, now that we've got our top covered, we're gonna wash this brush off. We're gonna use it later. We'll go right into our odorless mineral spirits in our nasty old jar, right? Twist it off into the trash can, into the bucket, right? Shake it up, shake it all about, and we have a nice clean dry brush. Now you're gonna wanna tap it on a paper towel. Sounds like someone's knocking at the door. Can you rub your head? Or can you rub your stomach and pat at the same time? Or tap your head and rub the brush? Who knows, whatever it was. An old saying, right? Just knock off some of that wetness. It's still a little wet. You can see by the glare in the glove, but it's not soaking wet. Okay, now I want to take a different brush. Nice clean dry brush. We're gonna go into our Bob Ross liquid clear. I hope everyone else's jar looks as gross as mine does, right? Or is it just me? I'm the gross one. Gonna do about, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch into the bristles. You can see it's very much like syrup. Very syrupy. Now again, same thing, we're gonna start at the bottom. I'm gonna drop a little bit up there, a little bit over here, a little bit over there, a little bit over there, just so we don't have a whole huge glob in one section that we have to try to spread, right? Same as we do with the white, except here we can see it. All right, gonna cover over the whole canvas, all the black section anyway. Don't wanna really mix in with the liquid white there, so stay away from it. Dab it down. We don't wanna bring any of that white down here. We wanna remain dark down in the bottom, right? Crisscross, 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 back and forth. Crisscross applesauce. Everybody sit nice. The crisscross applesauce motion, right? We'll go like this. I'm so glad that came after I was in school. It was such a, you know, back when I was in school, they were like, sit down. Okay. There we go. Now, you can see we've got our clear all over the canvas in our black section, and we have our liquid white in our white section, but we don't want it to be too wet. If it's too wet, it's going to be hard to get our big, thick stuff down in here to adhere to the canvas and stick, right? So we're going to take a little bit of a paper towel, fold it over into a little square, and we're going to wipe off all of that clear that we just put on. Wipe it all off and get rid of it, right? Bam. Because you don't need all of that. You just need a little bit. And some of the times I forget that. Like the one we did on last Friday. I forgot to wipe the dark section. And as we got down to the dark, it became harder and harder for me even to get those things to stick on there and look correct. So now it's still slick, it's still wet, even though we've wiped it off, and now we can get started. Go into our colors. We have Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, bright red, cadmium yellow, sap green, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white, all right here. This is only, you know, the only area that we get to work with. You, of course, don't have to use a palette. You can use a paper plate or a big old piece of cardboard and stick them on there and do that. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine to do so. Now I'm going to get rid of my liquid jar. We do have one little petri dish full of liquid white right down here. Not full to the brim, but enough to cover the bottom. And that way we'll be able to do our highlights and stuff. So let's quit messing around. We're going to grab our big old 2-inch brush. This one was not washed, so let's get all the clear off of that brush. Again, into the cup, into the trash can, into the bucket. Really beat it around to get it nice and dry and clean. Remember, dab it off on a paper towel. I like it right at the bottom of the table over here. Dab it off nice and easily. And you'll be amazed how much color is still left in the brush, even though it doesn't look like it, right? Dab it off. Now we're going to switch back to that brush that's had time to dry already, right? Because we did the liquid white with this one. Now we can let this other brush sit back there. And we're going to come up here, grab a little bit of our phthalo blue right onto the brush. A little bit of our midnight black. Going to mix those guys together. Right, bam, 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 bam. A little bit of both all over the brush. Flip it over. Make sure you got enough. Look at that. Gorgeous color. Gorgeous. Don't need a whole lot, remember. Now we want to start it up here and then blend it outwards. So we're going to start up here, going to drop it in. And as you can see with that liquid white on our canvas, it starts leaving all these little gorgeous things and it mixes in. The further and further and further we go down, the less dark it becomes. All right, so let's work it over here. Back and forth. Don't want to come down too far onto our trees, of course. Just like that, leaving a little area of white so when we go back to blend it, it's got a little room to grow. Just a little bit. These paints want to grow on us. They don't want to be babies. They want to grow, 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 grow. So don't put too much paint on the canvas. That's for sure. Okay, dab that off. Switch back to the other brush that has been drying for a few seconds anyway. Now we're going to come up here, start in our darkest area. Right? Even reach around, get the sides of the canvas nice and blue. The top, because we're going to have to do it anyway eventually. All right, we're going to start going like this, crisscrossing back and forth. And the more we do that, the more those little brush strokes go away. And we bring it down. It's nice and light and soft. The further, if you start to, you know, if you're still real dark way down here, you're going to lose the effect. So less pressure, right? We're pulling our hand less and less away from the canvas as we get over here, so it's less and less blue, right? You retain that little area of white down in there. Gorgeous little bit. And that's going to leave that little area of pop for our mountain right here to kind of pop out in front of all that whiteness. And you don't even have to do it all. Any bits that you don't cover can be clouds in the sky, right? Gorgeous. Gorgeous little thing. Okay, back and forth across the whole area. Makes it nice and soft and sweet. Got to do the top over here because I think I forgot. Maybe put a little bit of blue up in the sides over there. And just like that, you have a gorgeous little soft blue sky that you don't even need to really do anything with, right? Just like that. Wash that brush off. Nice and soft and simple and easy. Now, we went and watched the Royal Majesty episode that we're going to try to recreate here. Watched it a couple times. And And then we're going to do it from memory. I have no other reference photos, just from what I remember. And we'll see what happens as we go along, right? Now let's get an old nasty fan brush, go right into our white, just like Bob did. Had no shadows or anything, just right into the white. Filled up his fan brush like that. And then we're going to come up here and just literally make a mess. I'm telling you guys, I don't say it for my own health. That's what we do. Make a mess, right? He started up here and he started dabbing it in, and then it was like he moved, but he was twisting the brush over and up and around and around and over, right? Just messing it all up. Now look, it's picked up a lot of that blue color, so it's going to start to change a little, which is fine. Come in here, just don't take your brush off the canvas and just twist it and rotate it and move it around. Get these cool little things start happening. Now you can take the corner of your 1-inch or your 2-inch brush, whatever's more comfortable for you, and just very softly, with just the top corner, right? We're on an angle like this, top corner, and we'll start over here very softly. And you want some of that white to blend in with the blue, and you want to leave some of it that's nice and open. Just like that. The more and more you push it, the softer it will become, the more cool little things will start to happen. Take some more of the white over here. Maybe there's a little bit of extra cloud in there. You don't even have to make a shape out of it. Just a little mess. And then you blend it out nice and softly as it comes down. You get these cool little things, right? Just in a few seconds, make a nice cloud-filled sky. And the more and more you mix it, the softer and softer and softer they'll become. So don't overdo it, right? That's the key. Now, Bob took a little bit of his black and blue. You know what we need to do first? Before we do that, put that color back up there because we could use that. Let's grab, I want a nice clean brush. Doesn't have any other white on it, right? We're gonna grab the black and the blue. And what Bob did was just put it down kind of in the bottom of the canvas where he knew he was gonna have some water or some sort of color that you needed down there, right? So we're gonna make this shape like this, coming down, just like that, right? Filling it up with black and blue. And that's just so in case we hit it with some white, that it'll have a cool little bit of underpainting, a little undercolor to mix with. Don't even need to go all the way to the corner because we have that little rock projection out here that I really like. And then these are gonna kind of fall over into the water. Just like that, have our waterfall. It's gonna be so weird. So a little bit of black, a little bit of blue. We'll put a little bit more up inside here. And just like that. What's great about having the liquid clear underneath is that when it dries, you'll get this very cool shine on whatever part of the canvas has the clear on it. It's really neat. All right, just like that. Don't need a whole lot. Blend it out, blah, 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 blah. So a fair amount of paint went onto the canvas there. Now let's wash that brush off again. Just beat the living devil out of it, Josh. And dab it off on a paper towel. Boom. Sometimes if you have a little amount of paint on there and you just freshly washed a brush and your little rack is still wet, you can knock off that original paint without even going back into the cup. All right, now, Bob did a little faraway mountain back there, so let's clean up an area for us to work in. Bam, bam, bam. Take all that paint, add a little bit of crimson to it. So we got blue, black, and crimson right together. Josh's 3 favorite colors. They make a really, really, really dark purpley color. All right, but we're gonna do 2 mountains. So we need to lighten one up. Take a little bit of the white, bring it in there, lighten it up a little bit. See how it goes a little bit more gray? And again, once it goes up here, it's gonna go even more gray. So don't go too crazy. Sorry, it's even gonna go lighter. So you need to have it a little bit dark. Let's do, maybe it was back here. This little far off little guy. It's just small, right? And again, all you need is enough paint up there so that when we pull it out, it'll pull away and go down and disappear. Now, we're gonna switch to the 1-inch brush just because we have a little bit less room, right? I have to pull it off this way and pull it down that way. Pull it off into our black part of our mountain, right? It's eventually gonna be covered up. They'll switch places. Right now, this looks like it's in front of this, but we'll come back and fix it all towards the end. Just like that, poof. A little bit of amount. We're gonna take a little bit of that white and blue that we have from our clouds that we made. Take that onto our back side. Maybe we'll pull it down this way, go off to the side. That looks very white, Josh. It doesn't look very blue to me. Let's take a little bit of that blue and kind of throw it in there. There we go. Got it to be different colors. When you don't need a whole lot of detail back there. You just mush it in, literally. Literally smush it. Take a little bit of the white, Come over the top of this guy, very lightly, because again, it's so far away that we don't need a whole lot of detail on it. Not a whole lot of detail at all. Just like that. Maybe this guy comes over there. There's like a little bit of light, right? Never know where the light's going to hit. Way off in the distance back there. Very neat. Now again, you always have to soften it to make it look blurry, make it look more further away, right? The more soft it is, the more further away it's going to look. There we go. Just like that. And then whatever we don't like, we can cover, right? Very simply and easily done. Okay, we're going to take up a lot more of that dark color, black, crimson, blue. Mix them all into this little pile again so we get rid of all that light color. Back to our original darkness. Scrape some of that guy up. All right, pull it out, scrape it up, and then maybe in here, who knows, there was just a giant mountain in Bob's painting. Just a monster. It just grew like crazy. Pull it off to the side. I like making mine a little flatter off the back. It just gives them more depth, right? Scrape up all this paint. So we don't want it to grow too far, and the farther we go, the more it's going to grow. There we go. Boom, a little bit of ridgy mountain right there. Super ridgy. Right, mush that paint in wherever we need it. And there's another little projection right there. It's like a very sharp little mountain. Okay, now remember, you don't have to pull every piece of black out, but very softly, because we don't want to lose our mist at the bottom, right? Don't want to cover up all those trees. You can lose a little bit of them, but not all of them. And just instantly from the darker color, it makes that mountain back there look very, very, very far away. All right, pull this guy down. Big swipes. Then as you get closer down here, you pull off. And this guy was going off that way. Very lightly as we come down so you don't lose all those cool little bits of mist and different things. And if you do, we can always go back and put them in later. It's okay. Very steep mountain right there. Just like that. Very cool. All right, let's come in. Let's make up some snow, and then we're going to make up some shadows. Let's scrape up the white, scrape up the blue, put it over here. We're going to make our little blue shadowy color. It's got to be like sky blue. And take a little smidge of dark in there, and then just don't overmix it, right? You'll have all these little different things, dark, light, blue, dark, light, little streaks. All those, as we pick them up, are gonna come out differently as they come off of the knife. Very simply and easily, right? Now, everywhere that there's a little bit of a shadow, maybe the sun just couldn't reach everything, and it just starts falling off very lightly. You're barely touching the canvas at all. Just not even barely at all touching it, having that little bit fall out. And that's all you really need. Just back behind where you think there'd be some light. We'll throw those in, kind of slide them down the edge of the cliff, right? And then we can always come back in and cover over what you don't like with our highlight color. As long as we have a little bit of shadow back there, we'll have these very cool little things. Just pull them off in different directions. Slide it down and make it look like our mountain's more 3D, right? And again, they don't have to be everywhere, and you want to leave a bit of that deep darkness. Don't want to have too much paint out on the canvas either. Makes everything more and more difficult, right? Now we're going to come in with our bit of white, scrape up a little bit of that blue, and now we're going to make this off-white color that's going to look very bright white. But we know it's just the littlest bit of blue in there, right? Scrape that guy up, come up here, and then big straight streaks down. Come down, start to flatten off as we get down around the bottom, right? Grab it along the edge. The lighter touch you have, the more cool little breaky pieces are going to show up. Light touch, so light, so soft. Cool little things start appearing off in the distance. Neat little things. We're not trying to cover. We want to cover up every little piece, right? Along the edge of our ridge, there was another little projection right there. Just change the whole look of the mountain just by messing around, right? And every time you got a little bit of white, go back in there, throw a little bit of that blue back behind it. Just gives it that nice little deep shadow. Super cool. Lovely. Okay, take even a little bit of the deep darkness, and you can really, just again, very lightly, but you can really add some deep dark shadows back in there. And the sun is just straining to reach. Very cool. Very, very cool. Get all those rocks that are just too steep to have any snow even on them back there anymore. Let's see a little bit more of the white and blue come across, just across the top of this guy, just so we retain some of those real deep dark areas and keep our little blue highlights in. Just like dumping off. Ooh, that is fantastic. Right now, against the bottom of this, we're going to be swiping upwards, right, in the direction that we came down. So if we came down this way, we have to swipe up that way. Okay, swipe up. Now we're more very vertical, very straight up. You can go up as high as you want or as low as you want. Right? Came from this side, we came down this way, so we're going to go up this way. Just like that, very softly, very softly. Even this bit's just a little bit too strong in the shadow. And just tap that bit down, start to make our foam, or our fog, make our foam. There we go. Bringing it down, bring it down, bring it down to Chinatown, right? Allow it to grow outwards. Very neat, just like that. And you can still see some of those trees way off there, really far away, or put to cover them though. Okay, we're gonna come in with a little bit of white. Again, back into our little whitish bluish pile, so it's not pure straight white. Right, I'm gonna come over to there, and maybe up right in here, there was like a big old glacier that just started to come down. These mountains are so steep that eventually they're gonna hit a point at the bottom where all this stuff would have fallen and started to collect. All right, now anywhere we have a little bit of that shadowy area, gotta have a little bit of our blue in there. All right, so maybe back inside there, down along the edge of this ridge. Gotta have those little areas, they really help it. They really, really, really help it. Come back in. We got a little bit of there. Grab up a little bit of the white. Just if we have an area that's got a bit of shadow, it's got to have a bit of light over the top of it, right? And just like that. Pull that little bit down, and then we'll turn that guy into mist as well. Very cool. A little bit of shadow even. There's another little peak. Josh loves the dimension and the dementia. The really creating depth, right? I love these depth-filled paintings. So we're going to add one more little thing that Bob didn't add, and that's going to be another little peak that's back in there. And just a little bit of white over the top of that darkness. Blend it down. We get these really cool little pieces of mountain that start sticking up, right? Very cool little thing. And it grew over this side. Very cool. Just like that. Again, making fog out of it. Hitting the base, dragging it down. Just like that. Make our little circles. Bam, 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 bam. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. See? Simply and easily done. Now we get to decide where our rock is going to come back in. We get all these faraway trees that are sat back there. This one's beautiful. I love him. Something's happening up there. Right, almost looks like we need a little bit of blue shadow down the side of our little cliff over there. That's a little better. That is a little bit better. Bring it down to Chinatown. Just make it soft, that's all. I want a little light right in there. See, it's very grayish. We need to, less pressure. Bam, drop that off. You get cool little things start happening. Very cool little things start happening. Almost just threw my palette knife in the trash. There we go, straight up, well, on an angle, same angles that we went, right? If this side was this side, we go like this. You're like, oh no, all these little streaks, right? Our little brush marks, it's all good. Mix them up, a little bit of fog, a little bit of shade coming through into our little scene. Very cool. Don't want to have too much of that white grow though. We don't need all this to be open, right? We need it to stay dark, especially down in here. That is a very cool little thing. Let's wash some of these brushes off. Okay, now we have to make a little bit of faraway trees back here. Now, we already have this grayish color, and we need our trees to be a little bit darker. Not a lot darker, just a little bit darker. So we're going to take our white, I'm gonna come in here, grab up a bit of that dark color and just mix it together until it's just slightly darker than what we have right in here. Let's grab a little bit more dark, because as we put it up against the canvas, it's going to become lighter and lighter and lighter, right? Now, let's scrape this guy up. Hold that pile right there. We never make enough, so let's make more. Just in case, we'll make some more. Mix it up, white and black, just like that, trying to retain that same gray color. There we go. Scoop it up. That should probably still not be enough. Now we're gonna come back, grab our little fan brush. Just like that. And we're gonna go test it, right? See what it looks like. Now, straight up and down, kind of pop them down. You get these far away little trees. And if they start, you know, appearing too much the same color as the, you know, color behind it, then we have to add a little bit of darkness. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And we'll come over here, just very straight, very pointy tops. And then we're just gonna fill in the rest of the bottom. Just like that, nothing too crazy. A little bit more of our dark color. A little sneak of white in there just to keep that gray. Let's say there's a couple little trees that lived off in here too. Just by bouncing them down, pulling them down, just like that. Now, we're gonna flatten these guys down, makes them very sharp, pointy at the top. And sometimes you'll get very small little streaks that'll look like a million little trees back behind there, right? We're gonna come in again with the top corner, pulling it down, pushing it, right? Spreading it, flattening it, softening it. Very gently, right? Bringing it down, bringing it down. Now we can decide our whole next layer is way down here and all this stuff is fog, right? Don't want to mix up too many of the details. I'm going to stay around the bottom of the edge. Just like that. Very neat. Very, very neat. We're going to have our mountain come out right here. It's going to be fantastic. Right? Again, just a small change in color back there, right? Very small change. And we can even go back in and add another layer that Bob didn't add, just by adding a little bit of the straight darkness. Come in front of that guy. Just very small, very light, just so there's a little bit of difference back in there, right? Whole another layer of forest living back inside here. Very simply and easily, just by changing the color, darkening it up a little bit, adding another little layer. Come back again, same thing, straight. And we haven't even gone out of our same little section. We're still right down here at the base. Take these guys, just the bottom of them, mix them up, little circles. Little circles. Right this far. Now where's the base? No one knows. No one knows where the bottom is. You got all these far away trees. They're fantastic. All right, now let's take a little bit of our dark sienna right here. Gonna make this nice, nasty thing. Let's grab a bit of black too. It's got to stay dark, right? Now, say we have this rock that comes out. I don't know. He's over here. Just lives out over there. Got a little projection up on the top. Maybe he comes out over here. Gonna flip the brush over. Kind of cover down past all those other trees back there. Pushes them way back in the distance. More of the Van Dyke brown just to fill it in. Right? You want to have it nice and filled. It'll give our highlight paint something to grab onto if we fill in all this stuff with this thicker paint. Not globbing it on there, but not overdoing it either, right? Maybe about down to where we'd put our little blue section. Big old giant rock. Super easy, effective way of doing it. You can add your little projections wherever you want, right? Just like that. Pull it out. Now our guy's ready to rock and roll. Look at all those cool little trees that are up on the top there. And all these trees that kind of, they're further off. Maybe they're on the top of another little cliff or another little rock. All right, so let's switch back. We go back to that other brush. Add a little bit of that brown color to it. A nice thin brush. A little bit of our black and crimson and blue to it as well. And let's see, maybe come up here. There was a little bit of a tree lived way up on the top up here, I think anyway. Just pushing it in, starting with the corner, and then as you come down, you get a little bit bigger, a little bit more, you know, a little more bristles on the canvas, and it gets a little wider. Start using more and more of it. Maybe down here, I don't know. There was a little tree lived. He's starting to grow right on the edge of this old guy. This little lip just by popping up again. As long as our color is darker than the color back behind it, it's going to look like it's in front. So we got to keep it nice and dark and filled in, but I don't want to cover, I don't want to lose all the little trees behind it either, right? They have to, they're part of this painting too. They want to be recognized. Very cool. Not too many, just a few little things, right? The more I see, the more I want to do. Maybe there's a little, just like a sticky tree that just got left out up there. Just an old little sticky guy. And he's got a little teeny branch off the side of him right there. And he's just hanging on for dear life on the edge of this cliff, which is then going to go sideways and then fall off that way in my mind. That's how it's going to look. Bam, we're going to drag in some of those cool little details down there. Very neat. We don't need much over here, so let's wash that fan brush off. We're going to use it again. Remember, we're doing this all from memory. I watched that episode twice, once last night, once today, and then we're going to try to redo it the best that we can, right? Now remember, he had some foreground trees out here in the foreground, so and he had a couple that kind of popped off the side. So maybe we shouldn't have washed the brush. Let's go back in, grab up some of that dark sienna, that darker brownish color. All right, a little bit of the black, a little bit of the crimson, just mix them up together. Just so we get our fan brush has this nice sharp knife-like edge on it. And say, I don't know, this guy was on an angle back here. Come up there, really start popping it in. And remember, it's dark enough that it's going to look like it's closer than those faraway trees in the distance, right? If you had it very light colored, it may look like it was further away, and that's not really going to work. All right, come back again. Same thing, maybe add a little bit of the sap green to this guy now. Just so we can change the color. Come in over here, we had a couple trees. And there was one right there. And I think there was one about right there. And that's where he had his old guys. Those old guys. All right, take our colors again, nice and thick, brown, every which color. We're gonna pop these guys up. All right, now these two are gonna kind of grow together because they're so close. They're gonna come together, be best friends, roomies. Gonna be old roommates. Just popping them up. Popping them upwards is all we really need to do. Maybe they had like a little teeny guy down here. Just a little baby. Little baby tree. Left off behind there. I like that. All right, and then I guess we had one more giant tree off in the same sort of mid-ground area as this guy. And he was about over here. So let's take him, just start to mark where our trunk is going to be. A little bit of all the dark colors. And we'll come up here and just start tapping them in, right? Maybe we'll do this guy downwards. Like that. And his big old tree branches hanging out. Every so often, they just kind of project out like that. Big old saggy old, sad old tree. I never like the sad, saggy trees as much. I don't know. I like them when they're nice and grown. They're growing well. They got a lot of water. They're not too heavy. They got all these upward branches, right? Let's do another guy right here too. Again, just coming in the tip of the brush, tapping, and then the more we go down, the more little branches come out. See that? And they start to hang down like that. Very cool. Now we're gonna leave this section open. A couple of cool little things off in there. So now we can wash this brush off. May end up using it for the highlights, maybe. Just maybe. Just talking to myself. Don't worry about me. Don't you worry about me, guys. Okay, maybe there's another rock. It was like right there in the foreground of our guy. And then down in here, we'll just put that thing. There we go. Right on. All right. Gotta clean the color off of that brush. And if I remember right, we should probably highlight these trees first. Which means I'm gonna get a little bit of liquid white, a nice little soft little brush. Let me see if we can't snag up some of that green, come down here, find a nice little bit to work with. Some yellow, some green. Oh yeah. Right, just on the edge of the bristles, doesn't need to be too crazy. And let's say, I like always popping in the tip top of the trunk just to give them a little bit of light up there. Right? And just pop the tips of all of these guys. And then we can go back in. Maybe these guys up here, they just had a little bit of, just the smallest little bit of detail on them. So for here, why don't we come in and we'll stay to the right. We'll start popping up, right? I don't want to cover everything because the trees are very dark little trees. They don't need to be too bright, right? Just like that, just a couple little highlights on them. All we really need. Take this guy over here, start to pop his little branches out. And you really don't need much more than that, I'm serious. You don't want the tree to be fully covered, right? Just a little bit of highlight. Let's see if we can't do it up here. We need a little bit more of our liquid white on there for sure. Clean off that color. Every time you go over that dark color, it wants to pick it up and replace it with your lighter colors, right? So, come back in. Really got to grab up some of that green and dark because the trees don't need to be super bright. You don't have to be so super bright, right? Spread it all out. Just make a giant mess, Josh. It's just too much paint on my brush. There we go. Come back in. Going through both sides. And we come over here and we start popping down. You get little things start to live out like that. Different little differences, right? Turn the brush over so we can use the clean side. And then we'll pop in a couple little bits. You don't have to go too crazy. It's not gonna, you know, they're not really the focal point of the paint. There's gonna be many other things that'll take your attention away from those. So they don't have to be too bright at all. These guys up here, they just had a couple little bits, right? Nothing too crazy. There we go. There's a couple little bits of green up there. You don't need to see a whole lot. And these guys down in the shadow, ooh, they're very fancy. Oh, I love them. Oh, I love them so much. A little bit of green on top. Maybe this guy's a little saggy guy too. Just like that. Very cool. Very cool. Now we're going to clean off this brush here, our little 1-inch. Only because our canvas is a little smaller than Bob's and he was just a master with that 2-inch brush. So why don't we grab up a little bit of the same color, right? Really dabbing it into our bristles so it gets nice, even distribution in there. A little bit more into our green and our dark color right here. Tapping it in, and then maybe back in here, start dropping out little bits of grass. Start to live out there. Don't want to cover over everything, of course, right? And they start coming down over here. They start meeting up with their buddies and they're like, hey, where are you guys going? And they start coming down like this even. Start falling down that way. Very cool. Want to keep it nice and dark over there though, right? Don't want to do too much. Very softly with just a couple hairs and some air in those same angles we painted them on, and that way they'll look nice just like that. And you know what's really cool? We'll take a little bit of our dark sienna brown and just cut in a path for us to walk in right there. Just cut it in. We'll go along the edge over here. Yeah. Very neat. Very neat. Very neat. Just a little bit of that dark sienna color over the top of the Van Dyke brown. You got yourself a cool little pathway back there that you can just have loads of fun on going exploring, right? Very, very cool. You can do this with a fan brush too. Doesn't have to do it with a palette knife. Just as easily take it, just kind of spread it out. Let our little path run along the side over here. Very neat. Very neat. Very cool. A little bit of our yellowy color. Let's put that down here. Just pop it in. And then maybe just come back in and just highlight just a few little areas with that yellow. Your eyes are going to look right there when you go to look at it. And you're like, oh. Yeah, little things as they grow down. Right? And I like going back over them so you don't have those harsh lines. Just like that, very softly. This guy's a little bit too bright right there for me. Boom, just like that. Very neat. Very neat. You can always have your shadowy green color and then come back with the yellow and just brighten up certain areas. It's very cool. Very cool. All right, let's take the small knife, because Bob used the small knife. I want to mix up a little bit of the white, a little bit of the brown. Do it right over the top of this yellow patch, doesn't even matter. Yeah, just like that. A little bit of our dark sienna in there just to dull it down. And right there, got a cool little bit of a rocky color. Right, got all these little differences again inside there. And then maybe up in here, we had this little bit, this little projection got lit up, and then it just rolled over the top. You never know what these things are gonna look like, right? A little bit out here. It's rolling over the other way, almost like a waterfall. Just very lightly though. You don't want to have too much brightness on these rocks. You want to maintain all that dark color. So maybe there was a bit out here. And as we start coming down, we start deciding what are these little grooves going to look like in our mountain, right? All these cool little pieces of our mountain that are going to look really neat, especially as we start to kind of pull them away into that darkness, retaining those cool little pieces. Woo! That looks neat, guys. Again, you can scrape it in, you can change the color, you can blend it to however you want it to look. Maybe down there, had a cool little piece of rock maybe. Oh, God, that is fantastic right there. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of darkness again because we had that rock that we were trying to save. He comes down over here, just a little dark bit. Now I wanna make him look different. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the dark sienna. Again, we're gonna mix that in over here with the lighter color of the browns until we can change our pile to a different color. Grab this guy, just on one little side of him. Just changes it up, right? Changes up the whole look, the whole feel. You can always go back in with our dark color and really add in little areas that are real hard to see, right? Come down. Little different things that start to build our mountain and change it and make it look 3D, right? Like a cool little thing would look. Yeah, just like that. Very cool. Very, very cool. And it helps clean our palette off, right? Got all this stuff on our palette that we have to keep clean. A little bit of that shadow under there. Just like that. It almost looks like you can just climb straight up that guy, right? That's what it looks like to me anyway. You can climb right up that guy and be like, hello. A little bit of our path come in. Just keeping them straight, straight lines. Kind of rocking back and forth, actually. Like we do with our fan brush when we're making waves. Just like that. Cool little piece of a walkway. Bam. There we go. At least we'd be able to get back there, right? When I watched Bob paint this scene, I was like, how are we supposed to get back to that spot? It's like you cut off, you like stop the path right here and the rest was just drop off. So it's kind of cool. All right, we did that, we did this. We're gonna save that area. We're gonna have the thing pop out from over there. It's gonna be fantastic. Right on. All right, now we need to get a little bit of our dark sienna and our Van Dyke brown. And let's come in, say, I don't know, there was a bit of a rock down here. We're pulling it down straight from the edge. These little rounded hooks like we're on the edge of this cliff. And all these little brown areas are gonna remain dark and retain that they were, you know, all the way out on the edge. I don't know how Bob found this place, but it is gorgeous. A little bit of rock out there. Keeping it nice and dark though. Nice and dark. Okay, now we're gonna come across with our brush. We're gonna take all that kind of color that we had made. It's got all the differences in it right here, right? Scrape off what we don't have on the knife. Pull up a little bit, some like that. And then just so lightly, gonna go over the edge at the same angles, pulling it down so softly, right? Just having a little bit of detail in there. Just like a whisper. So softly. Even in places where it's too thick, go over it a couple more times. Right? Go over it a few more times, you change it, you leave more little differences. Cool little pieces of rock back here, this very high up little thing. And I want to keep it dark back here in the corner. It doesn't need to go seriously crazy. You can come back in with the dark sienna and the Van Dyke brown mixture and make it dark again. So we don't need it to be too bright over here. We're not seeing everything over here. the top, just like a waterfall would. Come down over the edge, right? Very, very lightly. Now, if we can get another brush, we need to go so lightly over these guys, like we're barely even touching it, right? Soft, very soft. Oh my, seriously like a whisper, because this stuff is so thick that it will grow like crazy on us. And we don't want that to happen, but everywhere that we had wanted to slide off a certain way, we have to just so lightly pull it down, following those angles, making it soft, making it a little bit blurry, right? Oh my, that is fantastic. Just like that. Fantastic, you guys. Okay, remember, we still got all that blue down under here, so don't go too crazy. Don't go too crazy. We need to get another fan brush. Nice clean fan brush. And now, in his scene, we had water that came out from behind here and just dumped in. So we need to get a little white onto our brush. It's going to mix in with that light blue that's underneath. Right? A little bit on both sides, nothing too crazy. And we don't want to put too much pressure either. We need to come from the side. Look at how it instantly changes into that blue color back there. So fabulous, right? So fabulous. Don't want to go down too far. Now, that's just on the one side. The other side is still clean. Let's get that through the white again. Maybe it comes back this way. It starts to fall off the edge that way. All right, a little bit more of our white. It's falling down. Cool little bit of a waterfall down there. All right, we can even use our little splashies. Put them up like that. Very softly. Or you can turn the whole little bottom of this into a lot of kind of misty, foamy spray that's coming up, right? Just like that. Very cool. Very cool. If you wanted it to be a little bit more textured in your water, since it's a little closer, you can use the knife and dump it over at the same angles, right? Get a little bit more of that thick water action coming at us. Right, maybe there's a little bit, just to brighten that one up back there. Nothing too crazy though. Don't want to go nuts. Right, all the little bits are going to get picked up by all that water and they'll look like falling little angels down there. A little bit of our liquid white into our titanium white just so it's wet. Come back in, add our little highlights to our splash. Little things as they roll along, right? Keep it dark in the corner. Don't lose all of our little darknesses down in there. Looks very cool. Very cool. All right, now the last section we need to do is that dark bit of rock. So let's take the dark sienna again, and our dark brown, our dark sienna, our Van Dyke brown. And come in here and push all that back. Then we're gonna leave that little ledge, because I love that little ledge right there. Push it back, fill it in. All that cool, dark, kind of brownish paint. Maybe this guy came out a little bit further, just right into our little thing there. Leave room enough to put a little piece of something on there, right? Let's see. Now we're gonna come back, grab up some of that lighter color that we have, our highlight color. This one got a little dark. Let's mix it with a little bit of the white. There we go. Maybe a little bit of that kind of brownish, yellowish color. Right in there. All we're gonna need. Scrape it up. Again, start to decide what you want your rock to look like. How is it sitting? Where is it getting light? Got all these little differences, little changes. Maybe it projects out right over the edge. Just like that. Remember though, I want to keep it dark. We're down here away from the shadow. So don't allow too much of your light color. And maybe we got like a littlest bit of the piece of that ledge that's gonna light up, just like that. Now, Bob came in and did it with a bigger brush, but I'm gonna use like a little fan brush just to get some mushies in there. And then we'll come in a little bit of the green, just on the corner of the fan brush. Pop it in like that. Cool little piece. Cool little thing. Keep it dark though, down around the corner. We don't need it to be crazy. Don't have to be crazy. Cool little things start happening when you start messing about, but you can add too much, so don't go nuts. Don't go crazy, just like that. A little bit of brightness right there got hit up. Very cool. Pull it off the edge. Very neat. Very neat. Again though, gotta have that line of dark in there, keeping it separate. Gotta keep it separate. And you can go back and play and mess around and change it, do all sorts of little differences, the more and more that you want. So, you guys have all the time in the world. I do not, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would just stay here and play with you guys all day. But we got other things to do. So, until we see you guys again on the next video, we have a video coming out on Friday, our Friday night freestyle. We got a video coming out on Sunday, and of course the videos that come out on Wednesday. You know what? We're not even done yet, Joshy. Let's see. Let's take in, grab a little bit of that yellowish, greenish color onto our 1-inch. And maybe we'll just throw some little bits of stuff that start hanging off the edge over there, start coming straight down, right? And grow down, covering over some of our areas. Little things. Let's see, maybe they come down off of this side too. Cool little bits. I like those. That is neat. A little bit of our highlight back into our grass. Looks very cool, very cool. And we can get just the littlest bit of it to come over the edge. There we go. Fantastic. Wash that brush off. Let's put the 2 little trees in. Just a couple things left to do. All right, let's get a little bit of our liquid clear onto one of the brushes here. Go right into our, just on the edge though. You don't want it to grow too big, right? On our little micro-sized fan brush here. And then we're gonna go one swipe through that stuff and see if we can't make our little teeny tiny trees that already have our highlights on them, just like that. Hanging right out on the edge here. Maybe there's another guy, very small, on the edge of the path, just like that. Take this guy working back into our grass. This guy's back into that bit of grass. Very cool. Add a few little things. We can come with our liner brush into the liquid paint thinner, back into that kind of brownish color. Twist, and then we'll come up here, a couple little branches off this guy. Little things, nothing too crazy. They don't have to be super bright, right? Nothing too crazy or too bright or too big. Just take them, they're just hanging out up here. Very cool. See if we can't get just a little bit of that darker color back in there. There we are. All right, you can start from the bottom. Whoop, just to add the shadow. Gotta have shadows. If there's not a shadow, what are we doing? Shadows and highlights. That's the name of the game, right? How are your shadows and highlights? That is the name of the game. Little things. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I think you did have one more little guy kind of out here on the side. Just a little bugger hanging out. Everybody needs a friend out there, right? We'll take a little bit of that green color, pop it in around the base of the trees and stuff, just so it's, yeah, just so it's like that. Little differences in our colors, right? That's all we're looking after. Little differences, what's happening, what's going on over there, over here. Very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see if we can't get this branch to stand out a bit more. There we go. Remember, doesn't need to be dark. At least according to Bob's version, it didn't need to be dark. Even though I like it to be, you know, a little bit of each, but it is what it is for this one. This one looks great. Little guy back there. Very cool. All right, guys, well, let's sign this sucker. Put it down here. And of course, we can't forget about the family. I know everyone's like, what about the family? The birds, get the birds. If you don't know, the birds represent myself, my wife, London, and my daughter. And they go into every painting as part of the signature. A little bit of black. Or your dark color, your mixture, whatever. It doesn't have to be a certain thing. Right? Oh, maybe we'll trick everybody up. We could put them flying through the mountain right here. Trick everyone's brain. Right? I just make little M-shaped birds. I'm not the person who created this shape. That's for sure. Maybe I am the only person who started to add their family as part of it. If that's the case, then that's awesome. I like that. I always encourage you guys, if it's just you, just add one. If you got 7 people in your family, put a whole flock in there somewhere. You know what I mean? Doesn't really much matter. But until we see you guys again next time, this one came out so fantastic. My goodness. Is there any paint? There we go, before I wipe it all over my mouth, right? So, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, for watching, for sending the stars, for the love, for the likes, for the taps when we're live on Facebook, for liking and giving a thumbs up when we're on YouTube, and for sharing it, sending us to your friends and your family and saying, hey, check this guy out. He's literally the next Bob Ross. He does some really cool stuff, shows us really easily how to do it, and you can pick up oil painting just like that, right? It does cost a little bit to get the initial stuff and to do it, but the results are so much fun. Like, it's literally the joy of painting. This is it, when you can create something very cool, very simply, and just have it drop out of your brush. It's so great. So, until we see you guys again next time, take care, have the rest of a good day, and pow! Boom! Get them out of here. They are done. Go send me your versions. I can't wait to see them. Pow! Hi guys, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did a 16 by 20 inch canvas. Turned out fantastic. Our version of Bob's Royal Majesty. You're obviously excited about painting this one. I had to burp. I had to do something. There we go. Another one for the bloopers, I guess. Put a little cabin out there next time. A little house. I'd love to live out there. Okay. No more messing about, Josh. Here we go. Let's do it. Oh, are we filming? Are we filming? We're filming. That's going in the bloopers. That's definitely going in the bloopers.